A$AP Rocky might be going away for a long time after going crazy on Rihanna over her recent over-sexualized cover photo, but that's not even all. Some of his past incidents are now coming to light, and people think he could end up locked away even longer than expected. Let me break it down, starting with how it all began to fall apart for him. On November 6, 2021, something happened on a Hollywood street corner that would follow A$AP Rocky for years. Rocky was facing 2 felony assault charges stemming from a shooting incident that occurred outside of the W Hotel in Hollywood. The man on the other side of it was someone he had known for over a decade. A$AP Rocky is accused of firing a gun at former friend and collaborator A$AP Relly, whose legal name is Terrell Efron. This wasn't a confrontation between strangers. Rocky and Relly were once friends, meeting in high school in Harlem and forming part of the A$AP collective. Efron, Th Rocky and others, was a part of a New York-based rap collective called A$AP Mob that was founded in 2006 by the late Steven Rodriguez, also known as A$AP Yams. The group included rappers, music video directors, fashion designers, and bikers. But by 2021, the relationship had been deteriorating for years. Relly testified that he felt abandoned as Rocky's fame skyrocketed while he and other members of the group struggled to keep up. Tensions between the two came to a head in November 2021 following a disagreement over Rocky's alleged failure to support another A$AP member's family after their passing. That music night, the two men met up near the W Hotel in Hollywood to settle things face to face. Efron, known as A$AP Relly, said their relationship had been strained for years and was getting worse in the days leading up to the incident, but he was still furious when Rocky pulled a gun on him after a scuffle. According to the prosecution, on November 6, 2021, music Rocky and Efron had a confrontation on Hollywood Boulevard where Rocky allegedly aimed a gun at Efron's head and stomach. Myers and other members of his A$AP rap collective were walking near a Hollywood hotel. Music, when Myers allegedly pulled a semi-automatic pistol from his waistband, pointed it toward Efron, and said, "Music, I'm going to kill you," prosecutors said. Efron described the moment from the witness stand. He testified, "I see Rocky turn around. When he turns around, it kind of looked like a movie. He kind of pointed down and shot the first shot. When he shot the first shot, I felt my hand get hot." Efron said his hand was grazed by one of the bullets Rocky allegedly shot. On the other side, Relly dared him to use it. He had been shouting angrily at Rocky, who was walking away after an initial confrontation and scuffle. When Rocky pulled a gun from his waistband and held it in the air, Relly testified. What happened next turned a personal dispute between former friends into a criminal case that would take years to resolve. On April 20, 2022, Myers was arrested by LAPD officers. Criminal case that would take years to resolve. On April 20, 2022, Myers was arrested by ICE upon arriving at the Los Angeles International Airport after a vacation with his partner. He was arrested for a potential assault with a deadly weapon in a shooting that took place in Hollywood on November 6, 2021. Was reported to be former friend, music, and collaborator Terrell Efron, better known as A$AP Relly. A$AP Rocky was charged with 2 felony counts of assault with a semi-automatic firearm in connection with the 2021 shooting. Rocky, whose legal name is Rakeem Myers, had faced up to 24 years in prison music if convicted of all charges. And so the stage was set. One of hip-hop's biggest names, the father of Rihanna's children, the man with the Met Gala co-chair title, Music, a Spike Lee film on the way, is facing the possibility of spending 2 decades behind bars. Music, the gun case became one of the most closely watched celebrity trials in recent memory. Everything about it was messy, contested, and dramatic. Music, but the charges were only one part of the story because the man accusing Rocky had his own baggage, and the defense was ready to tear it apart. To understand this trial, you have to understand Terrell Efron, music known publicly as A$AP Rocky. He was the foundation of the prosecution's entire case. Without his testimony, without the evidence he personally collected, the state had very little to stand on. With no physical proof tying Rocky to a gunfire incident, the case heavily relied on witness testimony, music, and credibility. That was the central problem. The prosecution needed the jury to believe Relly, music, and Rocky's defense attorney, Joe Tacopina, was determined to make sure they didn't. The physical evidence was thin from the very beginning. Police officers who searched the scene found no physical evidence of a shooting, including shell casings or bullet holes. 2 days later, Music Relly reportedly brought shell casings to the police, which he claims he retrieved from the scene. That detail became a centerpiece of the defense's strategy. Efron's testimonial included his admission that he was at a Los Angeles gun range firing a semi-automatic pistol, Music, just 2 weeks before the November incident. This proved to be a critical point in the trial, as Rocky's defense was a Music largely built on Tacopina's argument that Efron planted the 2 9mm shell casings that he claims he found. To the defense, this wasn't just suspicious, it was a disqualifying level of tainted evidence. In court, Music Rocky's lawyer, Joe Tacopina, emphasized the lack of physical evidence at the scene, questioning the credibility of Relly's claims. He declared there were no bullet holes, no blood, Music, or shell casings, adding that the shell casings presented by Relly were suspiciously found days after police had already searched the area. The defense painted an extensive portrait of Relly as a man fueled by jealousy and financial desperation. Tacopina told the jury, "This case is about one man's jealousy, lies, and greed." He called Efron the source of all the evidence in the case. He declared, "Ladies and gentlemen, this case is all about money. The evidence will show you it's nothing more than a money grab." He argued, "Music, the evidence will make clear Relly is trying to leverage a fabricated story to extract money from Rocky." And then there was the money. The judge allowed Tacopina to question Efron about a letter his civil attorney sent Myers after the alleged shooting that sought a $30 million settlement ahead of a planned lawsuit. The letter shown on a courtroom screen read, "To settle all present and future civil claims, we are authorized to extend an offer of $30 million. Legade Efron made up the shooting story to extort him," citing Efron's $30 million civil lawsuit against him. Additionally, Tacopina stated they have evidence of extortion. He's on a recording saying he asked Rocky for money and would go away to an island where the DA couldn't find him. On the witness stand, Relly became visibly hostile. The man who alleged Rocky fired a handgun at him balked and bristled under cross-examination, and at one point shouted at the defendant. The defense questioning got off to a stumbling start, as he repeatedly demanded to know why Tacopina was asking certain questions, so much so that the judge called a recess. Before the recess could happen, Relly shouted, "You did this to yourself," to Rocky. His frustration was spilling over uncontrollably, and the optics in front of the jury were devastating for the prosecution. Then there were the deleted messages. Tacopina showed the jury belligerent text messages from just before the confrontation, later deleted by Relly, where he urges Rocky to beat him up. The prosecution had shown only Rocky's angry responses to suggest he started the fight. When confronted with the deleted messages, Tacopina said their witness lied to them, lied to police, and deleted the messages. He destroyed evidence. In his closing argument, Tacopina delivered a searing indictment of the man at the center of the prosecution's case. The lead defense lawyer branded alleged victim ASAP Relly, Music, a pathological liar, a perjurer, and an extortionist. The message to the jury was crystal clear. You cannot trust this man with anything important. So how can you trust him with the next 2 decades of another man's life? Throughout the trial, ASAP Rocky's defense team pushed a narrative that directly contradicted everything the prosecution presented. Their argument was straightforward. There was no real gun, there were no real bullets, and this entire case was built on the lies of a bitter former friend. Rocky pleaded not guilty and denied the allegations, stating he used to start a pistol that only fires blanks to defuse a fight. Tacopina said in his opening statement that the evidence would show multiple people in Myers' inner circle knew he carried a fake gun for safety to scare off potential attackers after he was the victim of prior violence and a stalker. Tacopina said the specific gun in Rocky's hands that night was a prop that came from the set of a music video he filmed with Rihanna in July 2021. The claim was bold, and it carried significant risk. The jurors were told that despite 3 years passing since the incident, no one mentioned the phony gun to authorities until the day jury selection began at the trial. That delay would normally raise red flags, but the defense pressed ahead anyway, believing the totality of the evidence, or rather the lack of it, would work in their favor. Multiple witnesses corroborated the prop gun story. ASAP 12, real name Jamal Phillips, a friend who was with Rocky that night, testified that Rocky fired the shots as a means to stop Efron from going after another member of their crew. ASAP Ills, real name Elijah Olanga, Rocky's tour manager, and the final witness to testify, also said it was a prop gun. The defense also leaned on the injuries themselves, or the lack of serious ones. Tacopina showed jurors a picture of Efron's blooded knuckles and declared, "There's no bullet in the world that could have done that." He argued the injuries were superficial scrapes, not bullet wounds. Tacopina referred to Efron's injuries as knuckle scrapes, arguing that his client used a prop gun to break up a scuffle. There was also the matter of the missing weapon. No gun was recovered for evidence, and the footage provided was too grainy to accurately show what happened. So, jurors were left to weigh conflicting music testimonies. Surveillance footage recorded the sound of gunshots, though video evidence was inconclusive. Meanwhile, the music tarnished back. Deputy District Attorney John Lewin said in his rebuttal, "If it is a prop gun, there is no self-defense." He told jurors this could be a 5-minute verdict. Music, he argued, once you decide it's not a prop gun, and it's not a prop gun, the case is over. The courtroom itself became a battlefield of emotions. Prosecutor John Lewin and Tacopina got into an indirect shouting match at one point in the trial, but without the jury in the room, Tacopina accused Lewin of behaving unethically and accused the prosecution of perjury on Efron's behalf. Lewin vehemently objected to these claims, which caused Judge Mark Arnold to point to Lewin and say, "Lower your voice and don't yell at me." The trial music featured intense exchanges between the attorneys, with Judge Mark Arnold intervening multiple times, music even telling them to knock it off. And through all of this, Rocky himself chose silence. The rapper pleaded not guilty and decided not to take the stand at his trial. He also turned down a pre-trial plea deal music that would have led to 180 days in jail. He told the judge, "I want my right not to testify." That gamble, turning down 6 months for the chance of going free or going to prison for decades, was the defining decision of the entire saga. On the eve of trial, Rocky turned down a prosecution offer of just 6 months in jail, along with probation and other conditions if he would plead guilty to 1 count. Insisting on his innocence, Rocky decided to gamble that a jury would feel the same. It paid off. Rihanna's presence loomed over the entire trial, like a gravitational force neither side could ignore. The trial drew widespread attention, partly due to ASAP Rocky's cultural music prominence and his relationship with Rihanna. She appeared in the courtroom multiple times, sitting between Rocky's mother, Renee Black, and his sister, Erica B. Though Rihanna was never called to testify, she did appear in the courtroom multiple times in support of her partner. Music for one of these dates, she brought the couple's 2 toddlers, which caused Judge Arnold to rule that there was to be no mention of Rihanna being in the courtroom, or the kids being in the courtroom. The prosecution was deeply uncomfortable with the optics. Deputy D.A. John Lewin suggested it was an attempt to manipulate jurors. They brought in 2 adorable children yesterday for the closing argument. They haven't been here any other time, And you have to ask yourselves why children that age would be here in a situation like this. But Rihanna was not there as a strategy. According to Tuckopina, she was there because she refused to stay away. Speaking with Rolling Stone after the verdict, Tuckopina said Myers tried to keep Rihanna away, but she wouldn't agree. He wanted to protect her, music, but she spoke to me and said, "Joe, I know he doesn't want me there, but I'm coming. That's my partner. That's the father of my kids. I'm coming." On February 18, 2025, after 3 weeks of testimony and courtroom drama, the jury went to deliberate. Jurors had deliberated for just about 3 hours before reaching the verdict. A$AP Rocky was found not guilty of 2 felony counts of assault with a semi-automatic firearm. The moment the verdict dropped, the courtroom erupted. Rocky stood calmly in a pinstriped suit as jurors filed in. His superstar partner, Rihanna, sat in the front row next to his sister and bowed her head as the clerk read the decision. As soon as the first not guilty verdict was announced, Rocky dived over a short gallery wall and fell into Rihanna's lap, hugging her as she embraced him with her eyes closed. About a dozen supporters erupted in loud cheers. The rapper hugged his lawyers and addressed the jurors as they departed, telling them, "Thank you all for saving my life. Thank you. Thank you for making the right decision." His attorney revealed that just moments before, the atmosphere had been suffocating. Tuckopina revealed that shortly before the verdict was read, Myers turned to him and said, "I can't breathe." But then the acquittal was announced, and his raw emotion took over. "I didn't realize how athletic he was. He did a single leap into Rihanna's arms. That was happiness." Before we heard the words from the clerk, he didn't know if he was going to be spending the next days in jail or going home, Rocky later said. "This whole experience has been crazy for the past 4 years, thankful nonetheless. I'm thankful and I am blessed to be here right now, to be a free man talking to you all right now." The defense was not done making its point. Tuckopina Music told reporters, "We said from day one he was innocent. He turned down a plea for almost no jail time because he was innocent." The lawyer went further, calling on the DA's office to now pursue charges against Music Rella for perjury and extortion. After the trial, Rihanna posted on Instagram. She wrote, "Music, the glory belongs to God and God alone." What followed was a wave of redemption for Rocky. The verdict came at the height of Rocky's fame, if not the pinnacle of his music career. The 3-time Grammy nominee, fashion mogul, and actor had a banner year in the works, music, and could now look to it without the threat of prison hanging over him. He was scheduled to headline the Rolling Loud Music Festival in March. He was one of the celebrity co-chairs of fashion's biggest night, the Met Gala, in May. And he starred with Denzel Washington in director Spike Lee's film, Music, Highest to Lowest. Shortly before the 2025 Met Gala began, Rihanna revealed that she and Rocky are expecting their 3rd child together. Their daughter, Rocky, Music, arrived in 2025, and then came the new music. Don't Be Dumb was released on January 26, featuring guest contributions from Brent Faiyaz, Danny Elfman, Doja Cat, Gorillaz, Sauce Walker, Tyler, The Creator, West Side Gun, and Will. Among others. The album became Myers' 3rd #1 Billboard 200 album. Rocky appeared to be out of the woods, music rebuilding, thriving, and moving forward with his family. But trouble, music, it turns out, wasn't finished with them just yet. Just weeks after Rocky's acquittal and the couple's triumphant year, a new, music, far more terrifying chapter opened. In early March 2026, a gunman fired roughly 20 rounds at the family's Beverly Hills home while Rihanna, A$AP Rocky, their 3 children, and Rihanna's mother were all inside. Bullets struck a trailer where the couple had been resting, music, a nursery wall, and a neighboring property. No one was injured, but the incident shook both the couple's inner circle and their wider fan base. Music investigators identified the suspect as Ivana Lizette Ortiz, 35, of Orlando, Florida. The woman had been previously arrested for domestic violence. Authorities allege Ortiz fired between 7 and 10 rounds from a Music AR-15 style rifle while inside a white Tesla parked near the property. Several bullets struck the home's front gate and exterior walls. Lapped officers said bullets hit the double-paned window of the Airstream, but did not go through, and that a third hit trailer's side. A bullet hole was also found on the exterior wall of the home's second-floor nursery, where the couple's 3 children and a nanny were when the shooting happened. 3 more bullet fragments were discovered in the home's front porch area, while 10 other bullet holes were found in the property's gates and walls. Ortiz pleaded not guilty to 1 count of attempted murder, 10 felony counts of assault with a semi-automatic firearm, and 3 felony counts of shooting at an inhabited dwelling or camper. If convicted, she faces life in state prison. Rihanna and A$AP Rocky were forced to evacuate their Beverly Hills mansion with their young family after a deranged woman allegedly opened fire on their home, sending bullets through the front security gate and into an Airstream trailer in their driveway. Staffers were seen loading up multiple SUVs with luxury luggage as the couple and their 3 kids went into hiding following the terrifying incident. As if the family hadn't dealt with enough, the internet piled on with fabricated drama. A satirical post falsely claiming A$AP Rocky cheated on Rihanna went viral on X with millions of views. A fabricated post claiming that A$AP Rocky had cheated on Rihanna tore through social media on April 2nd, too, racking up more than 1 million views within hours. The post originated from an account on X called Hoops Crave, which has a documented history of publishing satirical and deliberately misleading content. It was not a news outlet. There was zero evidence of any infidelity. But the damage was already done. The rumor had traveled faster than the correction ever could. Then on April 23, 2026, Rihanna dropped a new set of photos for her Savage X Fenty Amour collection. Rihanna turned up the heat by teasing Savage Summer in a striking new Savage X Fenty lingerie drop, posing in a floral bra, thong, and garter set. She shared the photos on Instagram with the caption Savage Summer Loading, and the post garnered over 3 million likes, 36k comments, and 64k reposts. The photos went everywhere. And with them came a flood of commentary, some of it admiring, some of it questioning how Rocky felt about seeing the mother of his 3 children pose that way for the public. People were looking for cracks. They wanted to see jealousy, discomfort, possessiveness, anything that might confirm the narrative that something was off between them. Instead, they got the opposite. When asked directly about Rihanna posing for her own brand, A$AP Rocky gave what might be the most talked about response of the month. Rocky said, "Her body, her choice. That's not for me to control." When asked about Rihanna posing for her own Savage X Fenty lingerie brand, A$AP Rocky kept it short. Her body, her choice, and that is not for him to control. Music at the moment quickly spread across social media, with fans celebrating Rocky's response as a rare example of a high-profile partner letting a woman own her narrative without interference or ego. So, here's what we are left with. A$AP Rocky was never sentenced for abuse. He was found not guilty. A$AP Rocky was found not guilty on all counts by a Los Angeles jury, ending an exhaustive 3-week trial. The charges were felony assault with a semi-automatic firearm, music stemming from a confrontation with a former friend, not a domestic partner. The word abuse doesn't apply here in any honest reading of the facts. The jury deliberated for 3 hours, music, and cleared him on every count. His accuser was a man the defense credibly argued had lied, destroyed evidence, and attempted to extort Rocky for $30 million. The title of this video implies something that simply didn't happen. Rocky wasn't sentenced. Rocky wasn't convicted. Rocky went home to his family. And weeks later, when the internet tried to fabricate a cheating scandal, and when his partner posed for the world in lingerie, he responded not with insecurity, but with 5 words that shut down every attempt to paint him as controlling or abusive. Her body, her choice. A$AP Rocky and Rihanna have been together since 2021, though their friendship stretches back roughly a decade. The two first collaborated musically in 2012 and remained close through various periods of their personal lives before their relationship became romantic during the COVID-19 pandemic. They have 3 children. They survived a shooting at their home. They survived a criminal trial. Music, they survived the internet's worst impulses. And by every available account, they are still together, still building, and still unbothered.